The hardest part of making any of these videos about tuning is that the techniques I use for tuning are just beyond anybody, because I've made a dedicated software solution to tuning. But the concept that I've just been working on for the last month is about purity and being able to preserve purity, and mainly phase purity, and equally so, but less focus on magnitude purity. So this tuning project had one goal, and that was to have as much depth and clarity of stage possible. And to get around a few things, we had to come up with the understanding that the concept was in stereo music, you'll have a 0 degree phase expectation from this is frequency, say to 20k. You had to get 20 hertz. You had to get 0 degrees phase in a normal stereo signal on the left, and 0 degree phase on the right channel. So it seems pretty simple so far. Problem is, when your speakers start moving and doing things through your crossovers and coming out of your speaker system, you might find that you'll have all sorts of weird phase readings if you're using a microphone to try and measure a loudspeaker. And if you're in an anechoic chamber and you're measuring two sets of speakers at a similar distance or the exact same distance, you should have a pretty reasonably exact 99% phase correlation, and the stereo image that you hear of your phantom center should be a dead line between left and right, and not a wavy line. And too often in tuning situations, we end up with a fuzzy center, or a center that's sort of more forward than you might want. You might have trouble defining instruments that are close to each other and things like that are in various parts of your soundstage. And so the same can be said with magnitude. In an anechoic chamber, you should the frequency response from the left speaker and the right speaker should be the same, and then it should image like an MF, basically. So the story goes, if you could build a rig with your perfect speakers, or perfectly matched speakers, including the listener. Just say you made a big metal triangle with the listener here, speakers here, and then you put it in a room, and let's just say you put it in a symmetrical room, which my great drawing skills is pretty symmetrical, don't you think? Let's just say it is. You'll have direct sound, which is perfect in phase and magnitude because they're the same, and it images like an MF. Then you'll have a reflection on this wall, which is delayed and will cause a few small dips and things, but this is lower in magnitude, so sort of interfering. But then this side, if it's symmetrical, will be interfering the exact same way, and it should still image like an MF, but not so much. And then you've got other direct first, second reflections, right seconds. You got boundary, diffractions. So it's coming from everywhere. It's even coming off the back wall. But in a perfectly symmetrical room, it should still image. And I'm going to say your brain can still hear this stronger direct signal more than it can this other signal. I call this other signal, the pollution, to direct. So right now, you still have a thing called room correction, where things might just sound a little bit humpy, and you might just decide to cut down some of the frequencies. So you'll find that in this situation, you'll cut down the frequency on both channels, and then it should still image like an MF. Now, if you have a slightly or an asymmetric room, let's just say you have a door here, and you have a nook here, and you might have a window here, but not here, and then you might have a bookshelf over here, and blah blah blah, bed, and you still try and go for the symmetrical listener triangle, or however the example goes, and then you start to get different interferences and different first reflections, and then you're still hearing this phantom center because you're still getting this direct sound relationship to the listener. But if you go ahead and start room correcting, you're going to take out less of this channel than you are of that channel, because there was more in this channel. And this is where you can start losing some of your image, because most systems use phase destructive equalizers, or non-linear phase equalizers. And so going back to this other page, you can see you're going to lose some phase coherence, and you'll still get that phantom center, but you're going to shift some of these things around, and so that'll start going like this or something, whereas this one keeps going straight. And the two of them, we just pretend it's left and right, you'll start to hear this wonky pulling apart of your phantom center. So where does that leave us? It leaves us in a car, in a driving position tune, which is what a lot of us selfish MFers choose to go for. We're in a right-hand drive car. We're going to have a guy here, steering wheel here, dashboard, and you've got windows, driver's seat, passenger seat, steering wheel cowling, blah blah blah. So even if you had a single point source driver here and a say a low mid in the door below it, just so it's kind of a point source arrangement. We'll forget the subwoofer for a sec. You have this, A, you don't have this perfect triangle, and B, you have all this pollution from here, which almost bears no resemblance to all this pollution from here. And there's even, from the speaker, there's even pollution coming from here. When that's playing, you're getting pollution from both sides. But the signature is so different that you'll end up with, like if you have perfectly designed system install, you're going to get wildly different magnitude and wildly different phase. Even if you had this theoretical point source driver, the phase is going to be way different, and you can only really time align for a majority where you can get the most of a bad situation for phase coherence. So the system I've devised is trying to counteract a lot of the things that people try to do to try and get a good sound system in a car. And I'm trying to get a good sound system in a car, but keep the phase coherence and magnitude coherence, and try and somehow mitigate this pollution and also ignore the pollution, because microphones give you an unrealistic view of the pollution versus direct. So I'm trying to narrow it down to just direct, and if possible, look for common pollution in left and right fields, so you can enjoy more of the stage and focus in a soundstage. And just the last point of clarification, just before I sign off, when I was talking about this irregular phase that turns up, two reasons why it turns up is A, microphones suck at phase when the pollution is different, and B, phase starts to get ruined when people start destructively EQing with nonlinear EQ on their drivers. So that's why this hunt for as much phase coherency is sort of I guess you're shooting blind into the darkness, trying to hit a target when the target A can't be seen because of the pollution and microphone deficiencies in us looking for phase. I guess it's a little bit too in depth, but it's sort of trying to go where I'm going because I have lots of tools to address phase. But yeah, I have come across the microphone deficiencies, which we'll talk about in a later video. Alright, signing out.